Hello, this is going to be a simple setup guide on RetroHrai. Hooray. I don't know how to pronounce it. I believe it's RetroHrai. I believe it's RetroHrai. I've probably completely butchered that, so if anyone is aware of the correct pronunciation, please let me know in the comments, because I've never heard that word before. So, this one I have only just found out about, so I thought I'll give it a quick blast to see what it's like. And so far, very impressed. So I'll talk you through how to set this up. So it's not yet available on the RJNY emulation pack that we installed in our initial video. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit a pull request and I'm going to make sure it's added, because I really feel that it should be part of that pack. It's probably, for those who just want the most simple get up and go front end, it's probably going to be your best option in my opinion. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Google Chrome or your browser of choice. We're just going to Google RetroHrai, as it's spelled there, RetroHrai. You should have a GitHub link. I'm going to click into that. It should take us to the releases page. So at the time of recording, we're currently on v0.3.1, which was released 2 days ago. So we're just going to download that one. So you're going to go into your releases, you're going to scroll down. It's detailed here what the updates were, and then there's also some support links. And for any of these front ends that you do like, please support the developers. A lot of these are free, a lot of them are made in their spare time, and for the sake of a few quid or a few dollars a month, you can really encourage those developers to make these apps the best they can be. So we'll tap the link there. I've already downloaded it, so yours will just download. Then we're going to go to our file explorer. I use Solid Explorer, which is a free app from the Google Play Store. It's just a file explorer, the same as the built-in Android one, but you get this lovely split screen, and it's my preferred file browser of choice. So if you're looking for something that's better than the stock Android file browser, Solid Explorer. So we're going to tap RetroHrai. We're going to install it. Then we're going to open it up. So the first thing we're going to do, so what I really like that it's done here is, because all my ROMs are stored in my root storage, I'm not using an SD card, it's automatically detected my ROMs folder. So I'm just going to grant access to that. Use the folder, allow the usual access. And then it's going to ask me to set up a RetroHrai folder. Now, as I've already set this up before, I already have a RetroHrai folder. I will get used to saying it. I already have a RetroHrai folder, which is automatically detected as well. If not, it'll ask you to create one. So all I did, the same as I do for all my front ends and any of my game files, is in the root storage on my device, I just create the relevant folder. In this case, as you can see there, I create a RetroHrai folder. So I'll use that folder. So that's all I've got in here. I'm going to use that folder. And then actually what I'll do is I will delete that folder and we'll go through the full setup process. So I'm just going to go into my internal memory. And we're going to get rid. So, oh no, I no longer have a RetroHrai folder, so I'm going to create one. And then hopefully I'll spell it right. There we go. We're going to use that folder, we're going to allow it. It's going to detect the platforms, scanning through the ROMs folder. So as I mentioned before, I initially used Emulation Station Desktop Edition to set up my ROMs folders, which creates them for you. It creates every system under the sun. So you end up with thousands of ROMs folders. So a lot of the front ends you have to go through and tell it which one's which. And one of the things I love so far about RetroHrai, I will get it, is a lot of the quality of life fixes which aren't yet present in other front ends. So other front ends, take note, because there's a level of polish to this already. So I absolutely love these options. So you can select everything if you want to import everything, which I wouldn't recommend. This button is genius. All with games. Any where it's found games, so it's going to add 18 systems, not 85,000 like I have folders for. So I'm going to add those selected ones. And there we go. It's scanning them. You'll see them pop up. So this will changed. So you have these tabs at the top. So I don't currently have any artwork. So it's pulled through FP Neo, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance. So it doesn't take too long, even though I've got about 3,000 games I think I've got on here. Of course I've played them all. What are you talking about? So currently, looks a bit plain. So let's go through the settings and have a look. So firstly, so you press the Y button to get to the settings. So it automatically creates a folder of all your games, which is probably a cool thing to have to scroll through. However, it's quite a big folder. So you have favourites, there's also recent that will populate on your last 20 games played. I don't think that's adjustable, not yet. You can set backgrounds and logos for these as you wish. Collections, you can create custom game collections. I think a lot of these is quite manual at the moment. I don't believe smart collections are a thing yet. So I have an Android game I was playing around with trying to get Minecraft running, which I'll be covering in a later video. So it's the FB Neo, so it's found an emulator. However, it's not the emulator I use. So it is RetroHrai, so I'm just going to tap into that. So for my emulator, I'm just going to tap the little drop down, use FB Neo instead, and then update that. It's as easy as that. So as a half a 3DS is correct. Gambate for Game Boy, MGBA, yep, these are all correct for me. Obviously, if you have preferred emulators, change them to whatever you want. For the Genesis, I use the Genesis GS Plus GX Wide version, so I'm just going to change that over. And anything, Dolphin, Mooper, Melon DS, Nestopia, Nether SX2. I think these should all be... I tend to use the most popular ones, so they do tend to be all okay. So yep, they're all there. So we have our emulators there, so it's detected which ones are installed. So that's always handy. So for scraping, so this was one of the things where I ended up loving it. So there's my assets folder there. So you have all these different media types that you can get. You can scrape all the individual platforms using the GamesDB or IGDB to start, or if you have API keys for SteamGridDB or a screen scraper login, you can use those. However, as a full proponent of Emulation Station DE, I already have tons of artwork scraped. One of the beauties of RetroHrai is I can use those assets that have already been scraped. So you can see here, I've got nothing. It's all blank, it's just the text. So we'll go back to settings. If you go into providers, you can set Screen Scraper and SteamGrid. IGDB and the GamesDB, it'll just use the free API, which I believe is rate limited. I think for the GamesDB, it's as long as it's not more than 4 requests a second, I think. But I believe the front end itself does kind of limit that to stop you hitting those limits. I don't know if there's a daily limit. I couldn't find any information about that. So you can sign in with these if you wish. However, if you do have ESD already set up, you have these external folders. So there's a little bit of instruction here about how it reads them. So you have your favorites and recents. So for example, so for 3DS, it's currently using the global assets folder, which is in my RetroHrai folder. However, if I want to say, I don't want to use that, I'm going to tap that button, I'm going to click AYN Thor, I'm going to go to my ESDE folder, I'm going to go to downloaded media, and then I'm going to look for Nintendo 3DS, N3DS. We'll use that folder. I'm going to do the same for FB Neo. And we'll just quickly go through and I'll just set these. We have Game Boy, then Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, GC, GameCube. I don't know why so many insist on using GC. I like just having it called GameCube. It just reads better. But I didn't build them. I don't have that knowledge. Genesis. Allow. So I believe ESD creates a Genesis and a Mega Drive folder, depending on your region, but it's referred to as Genesis in scraper terms, so I've just taken to calling it the Genesis. N64. So this is the most manual part of the setup, if you choose to do it this way. If you don't, you can just start scraping and jobs are good. DS. It's NDS. NES. So one of my wish lists for this is to, seeing as you've automated so much already, just let me point at the downloaded media folder and then detect everything. That must be coming, surely. Like I said, I only found out about this. PSP. Did I pick PSP? I did. I picked PSP for PS2, so I'm going to change that. I only heard about this very recently, and it seems to have kind of flown under the radar compared to a lot of the other front ends that you've seen all over YouTube and other social networks that you might use that I'm probably too old for. SNES. This is a little bit manual, but it's a lot quicker than scraping 3,000 games again. Switch. Wii. And finally, Wii U. There we are. So now, if I go back, there we go. All the artwork that I'd already scraped without any, without having to wait for hours and hours and hours. So for my Switch, I've got all these DLC things which I need to tidy up. That's my fault, just because I've decided to put everything in the Switch folder, which is a terrible idea. So there we are. So a lot of people might be thinking, oh, but it's only I wanted a dual screen launch. I didn't just want the single screen. Fear not, because all you need to do is in the settings is go down to dual screen and enable a dual screen mode. And there we are. So currently it doesn't have a lot down here, so I believe this is still quite, obviously it's quite early, but it does work off the dual screen. So we can have the settings down here. Do we have an app launcher? There we go. So if you swipe across, so I'm assuming this will be a console artwork when they're implemented, and then you also have your app launcher there, which is categorized into emulators, Android games, and all apps. So if you have Android games you've bought from the Play Store, for example, they'll all be there as well. So in terms of oh yes, we need to enable the accessibility service for it to work. So we'll just click that and then enable that. That just lets the gamepad work for the shortcuts and things like that. And then you have these modify buttons, so you have volume up, volume down, there's brightness control, so we can grant permission to that. It's all pretty straightforward. And then there's an automatic update thing. So one thing I will also show you how to do if you want to install this and keep it updated automatically through Obtainium. Even though it's not yet part of Obtainium, like I said, I will submit a pull request to get it added. But for now, as a workaround, if we go to Chrome and we go back to the releases page, just so we're on the main page, github.com/RetroHrai/releases. We're going to copy that link. I'm going to go to Obtainium. So you can do this with any Android app that's hosted on GitHub. We're going to add the app. We're going to paste in our app source, which is just the link we've copied. I'm not going to override it. It knows it's GitHub. We'll include pre-releases, just so in case any files are updated, it can download them. Don't need to do any filters. We can verify the latest tag if we want to. We're not going to track all. We want to actually download them. All these should be app name. What was it called? RetroHrai. That was it. RetroHrai. The author. Ooh, what was his name? RetroHrai. That makes it easy. RetroHrai. Different bloke, that. Retro HD. That's the upcoming remaster. So there we go. Most of these we don't need to. And then for categories, I'm just going to pop it in front end. Then if we go back to the top and click add, Give it a moment. So there we are. So RetroHrai will now be tracked in Obtainium. So if I just go down to front ends, there it is. So like I said, I'll submit a pull request to the RJNY GitHub. So for the next update of that, it should have it by default. But for now, if this is a front end that you're interested in using, then you can use this as a temporary workaround, just to save you having to manually go and check if there's a new update, and then download it yourself and install the APK and do all that good stuff. So hope you found this video helpful. Like I said, this seems to have just completely come out of the blue, and it's incredibly promising so far. So it is something I'll be keeping an eye on, as I will for all the front ends, to see if anything can knock ESDE off my personal top spot. IISU is coming close, and I'll have a video about that going up at the same time as this, so be sure to check that one out as well. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a like or a subscribe. If you've got any questions or you'd like me to elaborate on anything, please feel free to drop a comment, and I will see you next time.